Welcome back to the MOOC course titled Qualitative Research Methods. My name is Aradhana Malik and I'm helping you with this course. We've discussed various things, various aspects of qualitative research. Today we have something very interesting for you, and today we are going to discuss software in qualitative research. And disclaimer upfront, I'm not going to take you through the different softwares. I'll show you very few examples, but I request you to listen very carefully, and I'm telling you about this homework now, and I'm going to ask you to do it at the end also. I would like you to go through the descriptions of various types of various categories of softwares and go to the internet and find out what kind of softwares, or find examples for the software that is used these days currently for these particular categories of activities in qualitative research, and that will enrich everybody's understanding a lot more. And then I promise you I will add these examples to the slides and then put them up again. So that is my request. Please take the descriptions, take these categories, and I'll remind you about this as we go through the lecture. So that is your homework. That is going to be the output of this discussion. So we are going to talk about how computers can help with qualitative research. Okay, software and qualitative research. A little bit of the history. This is from a paper by Weitzman in the Handbook of Qualitative Research Methods, edited by Denson and Lincoln, and I've taken some points from there and I've added some myself. Now Weitzman calls this the mini history of the use of computers in qualitative research, and he says that traditionally the computers were used for various activities in qualitative research. Field notes and interviews were typed and photocopied, so computers were used as typewriters. Computers, of course, photocopy machine is not a computer. I mean, you can't do any computing, but it is definitely the use of technology in qualitative research. Then computers were also used for and then traditionally field notes and interviews were physically typed and then photocopied, and traditionally the coding was done by marking notes with markers or pencils. So the field worker would go out and then into the field and get the notes and make notes of whatever was observed in the field and mark these notes with markers or pencils or pens, and then these notes would be cut and pasted, or these marked segments would be cut and pasted onto file cards, and then the cards would be sorted and shuffled, and then the analyses would be conducted. Now in the early 1980s, a software called Qualog came into existence. I tried to look for an example of this on the internet, but I was unable to find it. If you are able to find it, I request you to please post a link for this software on our forum, and that will help all of us get a sense of what it was like. I've just read a description of it. Now again, the uses of this are listed here. In the early 1980s, we had Qualog, which emphasized Dewey's induction process. Many relationships are built in to this Qualog. User formulates queries about codes, such as an if-then query. Replies are confirming and disconfirming instances, and it has a very unappealing interface and uses log Lisp. Now this is from the SRU web page of Surrey University. The other software that was used was the Ethnograph. Now the Ethnograph is currently available, and I'll just show you. This is very interesting. It took me about an hour to download it onto my office computer, but I cannot show it to you here. It's not available in our studio. So, but you can always go to this website, and if you want to try it out, a current version is available. So you can go to this. Ethnograph is still being used. Okay, and it's here. Very interesting. Okay, there's the demo page. So you can download this Ethnograph over here, and then you can find out more information about the Ethnograph which helps with coding and compiling data. So the ethnograph can be used to enter data that can be coded and compiled for an output, but I request you to do this on your own, and we can suitably modify or add to this lecture after you have done that. So I want you to try out all these things before we talk more. I mean, you know, I'm trying to simulate this lecture into as close to a real life session as possible. If you had been sitting in front of me while I was recording this, I would have asked you to do it for homework, bring it back, and we could have discussed it face to face, but this will be added after the class has been taught and after the responses to this have been pasted. Okay. Now, in the early 1980s, again, the other very important software that was used was the non-numerical unstructured data indexing, searching and theorizing, you know, short form is Nudist, software was used. Now the document system provides for, it had three parts to it. The first part is the document system. In this, the document system, and I am reading it directly from the description, the document system provides for processing and maintenance of the online and offline textual or other documents which form the basic data of the qualitative research project, that is the NUD part, the non-numerical unstructured data part. A hierarchical indexing system is the second part of it, which is there for the documents, which includes a database of indexing data. So that includes references to text units and documents, and facilities to create, modify and inspect that database, that is the T part, which is the theorizing part. The analysis system, the most significant part of the Nudist, the ST part, which is the searching and theorizing part. So is a set of facilities for manipulating the indexing database in various ways in processes of category creation, designed to help the researcher define and explore research ideas, find text relevant to complex ideas, pursue wild hunches in all directions, keep the fruitful ones, and formulate and test hypotheses. Now I was unable again to find the link to this through a regular search on the internet, but if any of you have the patience, have the time and have access to this, I request you to please put it up. Now this is the historical, historically what was used, and if you are able to find it, this was what we were taught when I was in college, but it's no longer available on the internet. But if you find a link to it, at least I couldn't find it. If you can find it, please let us know and we will share that with everybody. Okay. What is being used these days, and this was also developed some time back, is the computer aided qualitative data analysis software, or it's also called as computer assisted qualitative data analysis software. For example, there are various, now let me show you this. This is also another very, very interesting set of resources that I was able to find regarding the SACDAS. And here, let me just open another link. Okay, so there's the introduction. The computer assisted qualitative data analysis is a term introduced by Fielding and Lee in 1991 that refers to the wide range of software now available that supports a variety of analytic styles in qualitative work. And many of these programs have been in development, many of these programs have evolved over time, and the details are given on this website. So this is there. The other one, again, there's some more information about this on the website of the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and you can also find this information here. And maybe we can have our own website that lists, you know, and that can be a homework, that can be a team project that comes out of this whole discussion, that comes out of this whole class, and we can have our own little website with all of these different softwares that are being used to to support qualitative research. So this is another one. This is the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign, and this is their website, and a list of free SACDAS software is given: Aquad, Coding Analysis Toolkit, Compendium, QDA, Minor Light, RQDA, well, WEFT QDA. Now the R project is another one that is, you know, the R program analyzes quantitative data, but then it can also be used to quantitatively analyze data that can be used to supplement the qualitative, the data analyzed through or for the purposes of qualitative research. So, you know, variety of methods are available. The software that is being used these days is NVivo, is one very important one that is being used. It can be you know, the details are available at this. I think a trial version is available, so you can probably download a trial version to see what it looks like. If you're really interested in qualitative research, I suggest that you try out all these softwares and find something new also and share with everybody. NVivo qualitative data analysis software. So while the computer is connecting to this, I will share, you know, there's this Atlas TI which is there. Okay, NVivo. So you can actually find, learn, train, free trial is available. So you can actually download this and try it and see the output that it produces. This other one is Atlas TI. Again, a free trial version is available on the internet. And there are some more tools that have been listed that I thought would help you. So you can actually go to these. While this loads, I'll put in this also. Here is the free trial version of Atlas TI qualitative data analytics. Various programs have come up, and you know, the best part is the emergence of these different softwares clearly indicates the increasing importance of qualitative research in today's day and age. The fact that so many programs have come up, so many programs are being used by so many different people. You know, qualitative research is very, very important in legal research. Qualitative research is extremely helpful in medical research, where initially, you know, medical research and legal research depended largely on case study research. You know, every case was analyzed to see what it would reveal. It's not like you know, a large population of people who are you know, we can't really, I mean, observing behaviors of a large population of people to see how their emotions are affected by say the environment that they're in. It's not like that. It's like a case by case basis. How do you know what is normal recovery, say, for a cancer patient? How do you know what is the normal procedure for say interviewing or for having a and I'm out of words, for you know, in the court of law, for interviewing or to find out what a criminal or a murderer has done. So what is the normal procedure? How should you do it? What is the most appropriate way of interrogating a criminal or a person who has committed murder? In not many cases are there like that. Or what is the most appropriate way of interrogating an abuser, a child abuser, for example. These are very specific cases. So legal research is again dependent on analysis of, or to a largely upon, the analysis of qualitative data to quite an extent, and this is really helpful. So, you know, I mean, and in various fields, qualitative research is becoming more and more important. So you know, all these softwares are there. This is the other one that I wanted to show you. Digital Research Tools Wiki is there. So a lot of tools are listed here, very, very helpful. You can just go through this entire list. They talk about Answer, Anthropac, Atlas TI, CDC Easy, Text, CI said, Coding Analysis Toolkit is very, very helpful, Event Structure Analysis, Hyper Research, Qualiton, LIWC, etc. I mean, I won't, you know, so this is a wiki that lists a lot of qualitative research tools. So you can pick out different ones and add them to your repertoire depending on what you find helpful. Very, very exciting stuff. Okay, now what can software help with? Software can help you make notes in the field. Software, how so? You can record things and they can be transcribed. Software can help you bullet point everything. It can help you identify the themes. It can help you write up or transcribe field notes. Voice to text software can help you transcribe notes. You can speak into a machine and the computer can write as you speak. Very helpful. Editing, correcting, extending or revising field notes. Coding, oh my God. So many possibilities exist for coding. Attaching keywords or tags to segments of text, graphics, audio, video to permit later retrieval, etc. Storage, keeping the text in an organized database in a manner that you can retrieve whatever you need at the click of a button. Storage, search and retrieval, locating relevant segments of text and making them available for inspection when you need them. Data linking, connecting relevant data segments to each other, forming categories, clusters or networks of information. And memoing, writing reflective commentaries on some aspect of the data, theory or method as a basis for deeper analysis. You read the text, you go through the text, you code the text, you tag it, you mark it, and then you have an idea, oh my God, this is what is emerging. So the software also allows for you to make notes, to write down on the side or at the base what you want to do with it, how you want to deal with it in future. So that's very, very helpful. Okay. Software can also help you with content analysis, counting frequencies, sequences or locations of words and phrases. Data display, placing selected or reduced data in this word should be condensed, organized format such as a matrix or network for inspection. Conclusion drawing and verification. Theory building, graphic mapping, creating diagrams that depict findings or theories, report writing. All of these things can be done with the help of software. Now, my request to you is what I asked you to do right in the beginning. Please find appropriate software for each of these activities. Let's see what you come up with. Examples of software, list them on the discussion forum. Let's get a discussion started. If I've stimulated enough interest in qualitative research methods, I'm hoping to build a large database or a large list. Let's not use the word database, a really large comprehensive list of softwares available for each of these activities. So let's see what we come up with. Collectively, I saw today, there's a large number of registrations for this, and we are recording this even before the course has been launched. And I'm hoping some more people will get interested. And so, between the over 1,000 people that have registered, maybe we can come up with a very comprehensive list of software that everybody can use. So that will be very helpful. Okay, great. False hopes and fears. Now, what do? We use software, it's very helpful, it's great, fantastic, but there's always a but, But the text, we feel as researchers, the minute we say software, one hope is that we'll take this large body of text and just dump it into a machine. We'll take this large body of text and just throw it into a computer and into a program which will generate an output that will need to be interpreted. We also hope that the program can build theory. So that's a hope. That's also a fear. Should we be depending so heavily on computers to do these things for us? The response to this is developments in artificial intelligence may be able to take care of the above 100% sometime in the future. But the above, even if available in some rudimentary form, need to be supported by, need to be supplemented by personal inputs of the researcher or expert. So that is the response to this hope and fear. There's a hope, there's also a fear. Should we depend so much? Should we let the computer do all the work for us? Where do we stand if we do that? Real hopes. Realistically, we can hope the computer to give us a consistent output in terms of search for terms, in terms of location of specific terms, in terms of relationships between terms, etc. The speed. Computers definitely help us do things faster. Representation. Software that provides a graphic map of relationships among codes text segments or cases can help researchers to visualize and extend their thinking about the data or theory at hand. Computer helps you draw all these different links. So when we talk about representation, once we've gone through the data, sifted through it, written it up, and the computer does the linking for us. It helps us see everything visually in the form of a map in front of us, and that stimulates further thinking, further deliberation, and further analysis. So it makes our job easier. Consolidation. Consolidation of field notes, interviews, codes, annotations, reflective remarks, it should be remarks, I'm sorry for the spelling mistake, reflective remarks, diagrams, audio and structural maps of the data and theory. So these are the real hopes. This is what the computer can really do for us. Okay. Real fears. The ease of searching for keywords and auto-coding them may encourage the researcher to take shortcuts. It's so easy, I put the data in the system and then my work is finished. The computer does everything, so we take shortcuts. Big deal, I don't even have to worry about how this was done. That can significantly undermine the inputs, the human input, and that can also, or that can significantly reduce the richness that comes with human inputs, and that can lead to false conclusions. Okay. There is the possibility that the use of computers may tempt qualitative researchers into quick and dirty research with its attendant danger of premature theoretical closure. So we want to, the computer is doing everything for us, so we don't even go beyond what the computer has given us. We say, okay, computer's done it, it's perfect. So we might close the research prematurely. We might say, okay, whatever the computer has given us is perfect, and we might not really venture into the complexities of theory building, which may not be appropriate. The availability of software may tempt researchers to skip over the process of learning properly about research. Obviously, if you don't do things by hand, you don't know how to do them. And this is reflected again through a tangential example. How many of us are actually calculating without a calculator? How many of us are counting things, adding, subtracting them without a calculator? How many of us are using spell check on our machines? I am old school that way. I prefer to write things accurately. So I try not to edit my documents too much. I try not to depend on autocorrect. I don't have the autocorrect option on my computer. The reason for that is that it keeps me on the right track. I'm likely to forget the correct spelling, correct grammar if I let the computer do all the work. So that is not right. We should, it's nice to depend on the computer, but it's also important for us as researchers to know how and why the computer arrived at that decision. Why should we let somebody else's thinking govern what we are trying to analyze? If we depend on our own supercomputer, we learn how things are being done, the chances of us coming up with something brand new, something unique, contributing to the body of knowledge by coming up with a really unique idea, by finding something very, very unique, are high. When we delve into the analysis process on our own, when we try and understand how these analyses were arrived at, when we do things by hand, we take the time and make the effort to do that, we are, that stimulates our brains so much that we are able to see a lot of things that the computer, this machine, very good machine, but still a machine limited in its capacity, cannot do. So the capacity of this supercomputer, our brains, is much, much more than this machine. So we should know how to do things by hand. Okay. Types and functions of software for qualitative data analysis. The first category, again for this, I would like you to find out different examples for each of these categories of qualitative data analysis softwares. Please find out, examples of text retrievers, text-based managers, etc. And let's create a long list for that. Text retrievers are programs that specialize in finding all the instances of words and phrases in text in one or several files. Text-based managers are database programs specialized for storing text in more or less organized fashion by holding text together with information about it and allowing you to quickly organize and sort your data in a variety of ways and retrieve it according to different criteria. Code and retrieve programs allow researchers to apply category tags to passages of text and later retrieve and display the text according to the researcher's coding. Okay. Code-based theory builders may allow researchers to represent relations among codes. So, it's collecting information, it's retrieving the text, then it is managing the database of text, it is coding and retrieving programs. Then we have code-based theory builders. So, after the coding has been done, the codes have been applied, the analyses have been retrieved. Code-based theory builders make these relationships. So, they allow researchers to represent relations among codes, build higher order classifications and categories, or to formulate and test theoretical propositions about the data. They may have more powerful memoing features and extend the sophisticated and hyperlinking features. They may also offer capabilities for system closure, allowing researchers to feed results of their analyses back into the system as data and generate more linkages and develop theories and models. Conceptual network builders are what take whatever has been generated before and add to it in terms of helping build theory. They are programs that emphasize the creation and analysis of network displays. Some of them are focused on allowing you to create network drawings, graphic representations of the relationships among concepts. Others are focused on the analysis of cognitive or semantic networks. Combined graphical networks with the analytic, they also have the capability to combine graphical networks with the analytic work that is carried out with text and codes. For example, Atlas DI. Now, I have told you about this homework. Again, please find examples for each of the above and add them to the discussion in the discussion forum. How to make intelligent individualized software choices. So, you need to find out what kind of computer user are you. You need to find out about the level of complexity. So, this will help you determine the level of complexity. Are you choosing for one project or for the next few years? So, that will help you decide the speed of evolution of the programs used. Then, what kind of database and project will you be working on? So, this will help you decide the appropriateness of software to expected data management. So, it will help you decide the data sources per case. It will help you decide whether you want to analyze, or it will depend on the data sources per case. It will depend on whether you want to use the single, or whether you want to analyze a single case or multiple cases, whether you have fixed records or you have records that keep getting revised, that are evolving, that are dynamic. Then whether your research is structured or open, whether you have uniform or diverse entries, and the size of the database. So, what kind of database are you dealing with? Then what kind of analyses are you planning to do? What are you trying to get out of it? So, this will help you determine the appropriateness of software to expected analyses and results. Is your research exploratory or confirmatory? Are you trying to find out something new or validate or disconfirm something that has already been done? Is the coding system from the start, or is it firm at the start, or is it evolving as you go along the collection of data? Is it multiple coding or is it single coding? Is it iterative, which means you go back and keep revising it, or is it one pass coding? Then, or the research process. The fineness of analysis is another one. Intentions for displays. How do you intend to display the results of your research? Qualitative only or numbers included? So, is it just the qualitative research, or do you want to add an eclectic side to it? Do you want to supplement it with data from quantitative analyses and collaboration with others who may be involved in this? How many people are going to have access to the database, etc. So, all of that will be helpful. How important is it to you to maintain a sense of closeness to your data is another aspect of choosing a software? What are your financial constraints when buying software and the hardware it needs to run on? Okay, some debates in the field. One is the closeness to data. Are we trying to be over objective? Now, when we try to be over objective, when we try to depend on the computer 100%, then that may lead to our lack of familiarity with the data, which is really not intended. We have decided, or we talked about the relationship between the researcher and the researched and the impact that has on the output right in the beginning. So, that is one big debate. The second debate here is, does software drive methodology? Over dependence on software is likely to limit the method that is used. So, the method will determine how much or how little we can include, and that is likely to limit what we find out. Should new researchers start not start off, there should be a double F here, start off doing analyses by hand, for the reasons cited a little while ago. Does software really affect rigor, consistency or thoroughness? So, that is another one, and that is all we have time for in this class. So, do think about all these ideas. I think I have given you enough stimuli, enough food for thought in this class. Thank you very much for listening. We will talk more in the next class. The quasi-foundationalist response to this is, there are two aspects to this response, and that is relativism. Relativism is the doctrine that denies that there are universal truths, and the truths are rooted in context, and contextually whatever exists is true. So, that is relativism. Realism is the doctrine that there are real objects that exist independently of our knowledge of their existence. And a perfect example, this means that just because we cannot see it, we cannot feel it, we don't know about its existence, it doesn't exist. That is not true. There are objects in outer space, in the depths of the ocean, in the core of the earth that exist without us knowing them. We have, yes, our telescopes have seen or have found the existence of extraterrestrial bodies like the black hole, like far off galaxies, like the objects found on other planets in our solar systems. But we don't know. Just because we haven't seen it, it doesn't mean that it does not exist. There could be n number of new species of plants and animals in the depths of the ocean. There could be, one never knows what one may find in the depths of the earth. So, just because we have not seen it, we haven't touched it, we haven't got there yet, it doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. So, that is realism, that there are real objects that can exist without us knowing them, and that means that everything we do doesn't have to be rooted in theory. Theory is what came out historically. But qualitative research says, yes, we do understand the need to connect to theory, but we also realize that in order to find out something new, we must keep our eyes and ears open. We need to know, we need to have the courage to, and we need to take the risk to go out and find things that we may never have thought existed. Okay, the non-foundationalist response to this is, we must learn to live with uncertainty, with the absence of final vindications, without the hope of solutions in the form of epistemological guarantees. Contingency, fallibilism, dialogue and deliberation mark our way of being in the world. But these ontological conditions are not the equivalent to eternal ambiguity, the lack of commitment, the inability to act in the face of uncertainty. So, we need to accept that uncertainty exists, and we cannot just let go of uncertainty. The problem here is making and defending judgments when there can be no appeal to foundations or to something outside of the social processes of knowledge construction. That is the main problem. How can we find out what is out there? How can we describe something that is not rooted to what we already know? What do we categorize it as? What do we classify it as? What do we connect it to? The response is that is it the case that relativism is self-refuting? When we say relativism, are we contradicting what relativism proposes? Does it matter that relativism is self-refuting? So what if we are contradicting ourselves? So what? Does it really matter? Does that not open new avenues for research? To say that the judgments based on a relativistic approach cannot be grounded extra-linguistically, which means outside the realms, outside of our capacities to explain them, to describe them in a language that we are using, does not mean, or the language that we know, does not mean that we are exempt from engaging in as open and unconstrained dialogue as possible in order to attempt to justify our assessment. So we need to develop a language. If there's no language to describe what we are finding out that does not connect to theory, we need to create a language for it. We need to create representations in terms of words, phrases, etc. to talk about it. Okay, changing the conversation. A list of characteristics must be seen as always open-ended, in part unarticulated, and even when a characteristic is more or less articulated, it's always and ever subject to constant interpretation. We have these characteristics of criteria in qualitative research. So, but we must be open to changing them, we must be open to revising them in light of what we are finding out through the course of our research. The lists of characteristics we bring to judgment are and can only be open-ended in that we have the permanent capacity to add items, to subtract items, and to subtract items from these lists. The items on the list can never be the distillation of some abstracted epistemology. They must inevitably be rooted in one's standpoint, or they must evolve out of and reflect one's effective history. So they must be rooted in what we are trying to find out. We must know what it is that we are after. We must be clear about that in our minds. We can't just go aimlessly. But once we know that, what they can be rooted in is what we believe we are trying to find out. I am trying to find bodies in outer space. I am trying to find new species of plants in the depths of the ocean, of weeds in the depths of the ocean. I am trying to find out new species of crustaceans in the depth of the ocean. So there is some link to theory when we talk about, and of course I may find some life. At the very core, I am trying to find some life in the ocean. So when I say life, yes, there is a definition. It is still rooted to my belief that some life exists. I am not saying that, okay, I'll go to the depths of the ocean and see what I can find. Great, that's one way of going about it, but then I will need to connect it, however tangentially, to something that I know. So it can't be, and they must evolve out of, and if I really find something like that, then I must have the power to describe it. These lists are expressions of our own particular standpoints and effective histories, and are likely to be replete with our expressions of our own prejudices and biases, and that is okay. It is absolutely okay. What I do as a researcher is a function of what I was trained to do as a researcher, is a function of what I have learnt to do as a researcher, is a function of what I am able to express in my capacity as a researcher. It is all limited by human capacity, and that is okay. It is important to acknowledge our limitations. Silences, on the other hand, are likely to remain silences, and on the other hand are liable to be questioned. So we take silences. On the one hand, they are likely to remain silences. There are things that we don't know about, but we should also have the power to question what it is that we don't know about and why don't we know about it. Okay, so the goal is to achieve a balance between these positions, and that is, all of this I hope has stimulated some ideas regarding the problem of criteria in your mind. So we need to, when we look at this whole list of how we can, of ideas, of points that can help us change the conversation regarding criteria, I would like to stimulate that discussion among you all, because you've heard me talk about various things, difficult things here. So I want you to ponder on each of these points and think, about how you can explore more. I wanted to, the goal of this particular lecture specifically was to put questions in your mind. Just question everything. Why are we going in this direction? Why not another direction? And so on. Thank you very much for listening. That's all we have time for today. We'll continue with some more discussion on qualitative research methods in the next class. Thank you.